Shedeur is doing a really good job. He's growing and growing with each week from an outsider's perspective. And I think it's always cool when you're growing with company. Certainly see him gravitating towards some young players whose roles are expanding since the last time we played him.
He's doing decent. He's doing better than anyone did that they had, to be honest with you. The Browns really hasn't had good quarterback play in a minute. And I feel like they should just stick with Shedeur.
The shift didn't happen in a press conference or a headline-grabbing trade. It happened quietly, right after the Bills game, when the Browns front office made a decision that signaled a different way of thinking. Not panic, not damage control, a message. And that message runs straight through Shedeur Sanders.
He should be the starting quarterback the rest of the way. I'm not going to sit here and say this was the greatest performance in the world, but he should be the starting quarterback the rest of the way. Find out what you have in him. You know what Dylan Gabriel is. He showed it he's not the long-term answer. So now go find out what you have in Shedeur Sanders. He did a lot of really good things today. He did some really bad things today. But that's what you get with rookie quarterbacks. Now you got to see him grow. Let him go through the week again. Let him continue to grow as a quarterback. Find out what he is. Look, if Gabriel isn't the guy and Shedeur isn't the guy, you go back into the pool next year and you draft.
The Bills game exposed everything Cleveland already knew but hadn't fully accepted. This roster isn't one move away. It isn't a quick fix, and forcing a quarterback solution out of fear would only restart the same cycle that's haunted this franchise for years.
This is going to be a very interesting game. Shedeur Sanders really hasn't won a game in a minute, and I feel like this one is a winnable game. Well, I'm gonna say that every game is a winnable game. I feel like a lot of the Browns losing is not on Shedeur, which is crazy because they had bad quarterback play for so long, but then they had a lot of bad offensive play too. But I don't know. Shedeur, me personally, I feel like he's been playing up to his standards thus far. You know, he could improve certain things, but
After that game, the Browns didn't rush to reframe the loss as a quarterback failure. They didn't leak desperation. They didn't hint at tearing it all down. Instead, they recalibrated. Here's the reality that changed the internal math.
The Browns don't need to draft a quarterback. Shedeur Sanders is their future. He's a franchise quarterback in the National Football League, and if anybody doubts that, just show them this. This is the most comprehensive and exciting tape, fully comprehensive, of Shedeur Sanders' most recent game. Watch these plays I'm going to show you, and they're not all just highlights, but I want to lead with the headlines. This play right here, Shedeur Sanders assessing the line of scrimmage, and then what does he do after make the assessment? He throws an absolute perfect dot. An absolutely perfect dot today.
Cleveland is holding the 3rd overall pick in the 2026 draft. For months, the assumption was simple and reckless at the same time. Move up at any cost and take a quarterback. But the league doesn't reward impatience, and the upcoming draft doesn't offer a safety net. The 2026 quarterback class is thin at the top, not flawed, thin.
I think whether or not Shedeur starts for the Browns in 2026 has more to do with other quarterbacks than it does Shedeur. Meaning, if Fernando Mendoza goes out there and wins a national championship and leads Indiana to a 16-0 season and he throws for 6 touchdowns and no interceptions in the playoffs, the Browns might say, you know what, we got to figure some things out. If Malik Willis starts again in Week 18 and shows significant promise and looks like a franchise quarterback, the Browns might say, you know what, we'll trade a 4th-round pick for Malik Willis and see if he can.
Two prospects are viewed as true franchise-level players, and both are likely gone before Cleveland is even on the clock. Miami's sudden pivot changed everything. A team financially tied to its quarterback still hit pause, signaling uncertainty and opening the door to aggressive action at the top of the draft. Add in the Raiders, stuck in neutral and hunting relevance, and the board tightens fast. By the time the Browns pick, the choice may no longer exist, and that's the point.
Goku right there. I'm zooming in so you can see it. I mean, the ball cannot be handed any better than this. When I tell you Shedeur Sanders has officially arrived, I'm not saying that hyperbolically. I'm saying that in all sincerity. Shedeur Sanders did stuff in the game today that you just don't see out of young Qs. Patience, poise, and then again, deliver a perfect strike. What I want to do when I show you all these clips, I want to lead with the headlines. What I mean by that, I want to lead with the most exhilarating plays, and then we'll get to some of the more mundane but still great plays a little bit.
When the option disappears, so does the pressure to do something stupid. This is how the Bills game ties in. Cleveland didn't walk away from that loss thinking they need a savior tomorrow. They walked away understanding they need structure, protection, and patience. That understanding reframes Shedeur Sanders entirely. He's no longer a placeholder. He's the quarterback who gets the 2026 offseason, the first team reps, the system built around his strengths instead of a system waiting to replace him.
That, and you go out there and you draft the quarterback in the first round, and you bring him to Cleveland, and you know what happens? You find out the same thing that happened with Dillon Gabriel, that the quarterback I drafted before Shedeur is not better than Shedeur. Now you have a whole issue again. You feel me on that, Asha, or you don't believe
Facts.
that?
No, that's facts.
Right? You go draft the guy in the first round or second round, right? You think he's the future, you're going to see if he's the future. And then y'all get to practice and you're like, dang, he's not better than Shedeur. So I think it's real important that whatever they do with the quarterback situation, I think you give Shedeur that chance.
That's not blind faith, that's evaluation. Sanders hasn't been helped by his environment. The offensive line has collapsed too often. Pressure has arrived before roots develop. Mistakes have been magnified because the margin for error is non-existent. Yet when he's been off the field, the offense hasn't suddenly stabilized. The inconsistency didn't follow one player, it followed the structure. That matters to a front office that finally seems willing to zoom out.
This is one guy I can't wait to see, and it's Shedeur Sanders. And there's been some up and down with this young man in his career, but I'll tell you what, quarterback's the hardest thing going in football. And this young man has had an uphill battle in terms of media scrutiny, unfair judgment of character. But it seems like the guys in that locker room really like him. And when he's out there playing football, he doesn't look to be a fish out of water. He looks like an NFL quarterback. I look forward to watching him getting better and better.
Do you still not feel a commitment from the Browns about next year and you being the starter?
You know,
The 2025 draft class quietly reinforced that mindset. A running back who alters game flow, a defensive tackle who changes protection schemes, a linebacker who erases mistakes with effort and range, a tight end built for how the league actually plays now. Those aren't luxury picks, they're foundation pieces. They signal a team that's building outward instead of reaching inward.
Most people blaming the coach. Stefanski, I think his name is. Art. This ain't just the coach. This is the whole NFL power structure. The whole NFL power structure needs Shedeur to fail, because if he succeeds, Art, you have no excuse to deny him a starting job on an NFL team. You see how this works? If he fails, Art, we can say he's not going to be our starter next year.
There's also the financial reality no one wants to ignore anymore. The Deshaun Watson contract begins to loosen after 2026. Dead money fades. Flexibility returns. The Browns aren't boxed into desperation forever, even if it's felt that way. Waiting isn't surrender. In this case, it's leverage. And then there's 2027.
I think I have to do my part. You know, get some wins. I think I have to do my part and play clean football, and the rest isn't in my hands. I don't own the organization, you know, so I can't promise anything will happen. You know, I'm not God. I can't dictate what's gonna happen each and every day, each and every minute. You know, so you just gotta enjoy what you do have. You gotta enjoy the present. You can't look too deep into the future, because then you'll miss the blessings and the lessons that you learned from the now.
Around the league, that class is already being circled. Deeper, cleaner, more options at the position that defines everything. If Cleveland enters that draft with a stronger roster, financial freedom, and a clear understanding of what they already have at quarterback, they control the board instead of begging it.
The main hurdle to get over when you're a young guy and trying to be a leader is the fact that you really don't understand or realize if you have that platform, you just kind of have to be, given to you. You kind of have to be, pushed into it or guided into it. Let yourself, be that person, have that role, and that's by us as veterans enabling that. Those younger guys, those first, second, third year guys, let them know that this is our team.
That's the real message sent after the Bills game. Cleveland isn't chasing fear anymore. They're testing reality. Shedeur Sanders isn't being crowned. He's being challenged. A full season, real continuity, better protection, less noise. If he grows, the Browns win without spending future years to do it. If he doesn't, the franchise walks into 2027 prepared, not frantic. This is what competent organizations do. They stop trying to skip steps. They stop lighting assets on fire just to feel proactive. They let players develop or fail in honest conditions.
How you feel about what he's going through right now?
Shedeur Sanders. Man, I've been a Shedeur Sanders fan since Colorado, bro. The way that young man handles the media, Art, he's a media genius. Shedeur Sanders is like Malcolm X of sports when it comes to handling the media. They can't get him emotional. They can't throw Shedeur Sanders off his square. They can't make Shedeur Sanders say things that he don't want to say. Bro, Shedeur Sanders is a beast on that.
So here's the real question that follows all of this. What if the biggest move the Browns can make right now is choosing not to move at all? What if trusting the process, testing what's already in the building, and resisting the urge to panic is the clearest sign this franchise is finally changing? Now it's on you. Do you believe discipline beats desperation in Cleveland, or is waiting just another way of falling behind? Drop your thoughts in the comments, challenge the idea, argue the other side, and if you want a real Browns conversation that doesn't flinch from the truth, make sure you're subscribed.